You knew who Bill Murray was in 2004?
Sure did.
In 2004?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I watched him in SNL. He was great back in the day.
He has that line in Zombieland. Like, do you have any regrets? And he's like, maybe Garfield.
Can cats telepathically speak to each other?
And if it's a movie in the early 2000s or late 90s, it's got to have a Baja Men song in it. That's just how it goes.
Is that a point you'd like to get to at one point in your life?
Not at his age. That's like a retirement hobby.
That's where I knew everything I needed to know about this guy. No pictures of other humans, just him and Garfield. Hello and welcome back to Inside Quotes, the show where my brother and I rewatch, review, and relive the staples of our childhood. This is episode 101, and I'm your host Jeremy, and with me today is my older brother Jonathan. Jonathan, welcome back to the show.
Quack, quack, everybody. I just had the realization for episode 101. Why aren't we covering 101 Dalmatians?
Oh my goodness, that's not even... Dude, we're covering a cat movie. That's even worse.
We messed up big time.
Should we cancel it
Stay
right
tuned for our YouTube apology video
Hey,
later.
we'll do 102 Dalmatians first.
Dang! We've been so focused on the prize, 100 episodes with holes, we didn't even think about 101.
That's so funny. Well, we'll do that one next. We'll do 102 Dalmatians is better than the first one anyways.
No, we just won't do it.
Oh, I would do
is
it.
that your... Okay, okay. Brief thoughts on 101 Dalmatians.
I just remember the remakes. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously I remember the cartoon, but I just remember 102 Dalmatians.
With
remake
Oddball?
was better. With Oddball. He had
You
new
thought it was better?
spots. I thought it was. Maybe
We saw it in theaters. I remember that.
Yeah.
After New Year's Day.
I don't remember that far, but
that could be
that's
wrong.
for next week's
That could be wrong.
episode. Next week's episode. Today we're covering the cat movie Garfield. The 2004 classic starring Bill Murray, and oh man, this is a movie for sure.
It's a movie.
It's one of the movies, man.
It's one of your movies. It's one of your movies. You picked this one.
This is probably a solid childhood default for me. This is on repeat a good amount, and I also blame a lot of my childish sarcasm part of the humor to Bill Murray's performance in this movie and Garfield. I think he gets a little old. He's kind of a one-sided character, but funny nevertheless. But, yeah.
Well, actually, I think he's very three-dimensional because it was 3D animation, right? CGI.
Yes, and a really
Not
good
2D?
CGI, actually.
Yeah, I noticed that a little bit.
But before we get into that, Jonathan, why don't you tell everybody who the sponsor of today's episode is?
Oh, good idea. Wait, you want me to say?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I was setting you up for this.
Well, you didn't, did
Well,
ya?
I forgot about it. Okay. Well, today's episode is brought to you by you, the listener, viewers like you.
Thank
through
you.
Our Patreon. That's right. If you didn't see our little bonus episode that we posted, our announcement, we've started a Patreon. We hope everyone joins us over there for bonus episodes, recipes. Jeremy's got a Garfield lasagna recipe he's just been waiting to post over there.
I'm excited.
He probably has at this point. Who knows? It's all kinds of wild stuff going on over there.
We already made the lasagna, and it is pretty good.
It was good. It worked. That's all
but
I
yeah,
gotta
we
say.
have bonus episodes up there. We have 1 or 2 up there right now. So
Who knows?
And it's only $3 a month. So it's not that much of a commitment. So if you want to help the show out, and you want us to love you forever, please become a patron,
And Jeremy, aren't we going to do something special for the first 10 people that sign up over
so
on
the
Patreon?
first 10 people that sign up as a patron, we will give away an exclusive merch item just for our patrons.
That sounds good. And I've got another idea as well.
Oh, okay.
If you're like first in the door, you can help us name what we're going to call our Patreon.
Honestly, yeah, we've got a poll up there right now.
We don't know what it's going to be.
I like the staplers. Because we always thank them for being a staple, too. Anyways, but yeah. Oh, another incentive. This is crazy. This is far down the road. But if we get 42, the magic number 42 patrons, we will fly out to the desert and we will dig a hole from Holes, a Camp Green Lake certified hood classic.
An actual hole from the movie Holes?
Well, similar. And we'll bring our sunflower seeds.
5 feet wide, 5 feet deep.
Absolutely. 5 foot in diameter. So if you want us to see it, if you want to see a video of us digging a hole in the desert, get all your friends to sign up. Please. Anyways, join our Patreon. We would love you. We would love that. It would help the show out tremendously. And on with the show. All right. So Garfield. This movie came out in 2004. Where were you in 2004?
I was living with you.
Back too.
Then. Yeah. We didn't share a room then. We had our own rooms by 2004. But
I was in kindergarten.
Yeah. And you made me watch this movie a lot.
Yeah, I did. It's funny. It's a simple movie too. It's like like watching the comic book.
Yeah.
Which I really didn't even read the comic book that much.
The comic strip.
The comic strip. My bad.
They were in book form.
They came
also.
in books.
Yeah.
What do you have a history? Do you want to let the listeners know like the origins of Garfield? Do you happen to know that?
I know a little bit. I know a little bit of what I've Googled before. It was created by a cartoonist, Jim Davis, I believe. And from what I read, he did intend the character of Garfield to be a very marketable character. Like, that was his intention.
Well, I guess
he succeeded very well, because Garfield is like the #1 most syndicated comic strip of all time.
Wow.
I believe. It's either that or like Peanuts, something like that. One of those two.
Yeah, that's true.
But also, the Garfield character has just...
What about Dilbert?
Dilbert is very popular as well. And it's another one of those that's very, like, has a lot of merchandise.
Yeah.
Like, there's like Garfield, phones and clocks and things like that, and calendars.
Which is weird.
All kinds of stuff. Yeah, I feel like desk calendars and things like that for Dilbert are probably pretty popular. You know, if you feel like very pessimistic about the office space life, the corporate culture, and you want to show a little like stick it to the man neosis. So you have your little
neitis.
So you have your Dilbert calendar on your desk,
dude. Yeah.
But I think it started in like the late 70s, early 80s, and then it's just been very popular. It's been in newspapers all around the world. Everybody's seen Garfield, right?
Yeah. I mean, not this movie necessarily, but you can recognize the icon that it is. My question for you is, where do you think the future of the comic strip art form is going towards? Because obviously nobody reads newspapers anymore. Is it an Instagram account, Twitter? I don't know.
Just on my own personal time, this is actually a question I have pondered, and you haven't set me up for this at all. But I have a notebook with like, what are some like video ideas? And I'm like, newspaper comic strip, a dying art form, not clickbait title is written down.
Yeah.
Because it's something that I'm just like personally interested in, because I loved comic strips growing up.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe
it's the only entertaining thing in the newspaper.
At least my generation, your generation too a little bit, was kind of alive when like newspapers were still a thing, sort of.
Yeah.
And maybe like, I don't know, I just remember I would go on Sundays, like our family would want to get the paper, and I would go through and I'd read through the funnies and read all the comic strips.
The funny papers.
I loved that. I followed that for years and years, and it's like, it's something that I personally miss out. Like, I wish I had that like daily routine of like, opening up the newspaper and looking through the comic strips. But I guess it's just online now. Like when we covered Over the Hedge, the guy that like the comic strip guy, that the creator of that comic strip, he liked our post on Instagram.
Oh, really?
And when we posted about covering Over the Hedge, and I followed him back, and well, he didn't follow us. I just followed him.
I wish he would have.
But he was just posting strips of his Over the Hedge comic strip on his Instagram page.
Okay.
So I don't know what the future of it is, other than just like social media, like just posting on like an Instagram and having like a daily post or something like that.
I'm sure there's a Facebook group that a lot of the boomers have joined, like the daily Garfield post of the week, the daily of the week.
I remember like being in church and like, you know, you get your writing paper and you're supposed to be taking sermon notes, but you used it just to draw the whole time.
Yeah.
And I remember like trying to come up with like a comic strip idea.
Oh, yeah?
And like writing panels and stuff like that. But I couldn't draw, so it was just all stick figures. So I don't know if anyone knows what the future of comic strips are, then you're probably from the future. And you should let us know.
I would love for somebody to revive a comic strip that has died, but I want it to come back. Do you know what I'm talking about? Zoo-wee Mama. The greatest of all time.
The GOAT of comic strips.
What are some good comic strips? Calvin and Hobbes.
Calvin and Hobbes is my all-time
That's
fave.
the number one, I would have to say. We got Peanuts. We got Archie? I don't even know what that is. The Archie comics.
Okay, that's a little bit different. Those are like, I never really got into those, but those weren't like in the paper. Those were like at the supermarket checkout line in like the little digest books, and they were like, I don't really know what they were. They were like teenage soap operas in a book. I feel like
that's why they made that one show.
Yeah, I feel like that was like a more serious version on the Riverdale show.
Riverdale,
on CW. I feel like people that actually liked those Archie comics like probably didn't really care about that show. But
man, they'll make a movie out of anything.
I'm sure they were funny. I just didn't really read them. But I just felt like it was more of like a teenage kind of high school kind of, I don't know, story of these kids. But
it was more of like the Simpsons to our Caillou, if you will.
No, I don't think I will on that one. I'm not going to go with you down
Both
that
have main
road.
characters with bald heads and squiggly hair. But one's more adult.
Yeah, I got my first Calvin and Hobbes book from the Scholastic Book Fair because it was buy one get one free, and there was a Star Wars book that I wanted, like a full picture episode 1 book. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I want that. And I'm like, well, you can get something else. So I just looked around and I saw a Calvin and Hobbes book, and I was like, that looks cool. I had no idea what it was. The picture art got me on the front, so I was like, I'll just get this for free. I don't know what else I want.
Bro literally judged a book by its cover.
Yep. It was the Something Under the Bed is Drooling cover art, which I feel like is my favorite cover. But I used to bring those books like on road trips. And I would read those. I think
that's the reason I can't get car sick from reading a book, because I read so many Calvin and Hobbes books in the car. I think that's the only time I ever read them was in the car, actually.
Yeah, I used to bring them on the trips, and I'd just go through them. Like the other comic strips I liked I liked the Far Side ones. You kind of criticized me for like the
I can't
boomer
with those
humor.
anymore. I used to think they were so funny.
There's some good ones in there.
And then TikTok came. Actually, then Vine came around, and even Vines aren't that funny anymore.
There's this good. There's this whole a few topics are coming to mind here. I'm getting overwhelmed. All right. So Garfield is like famously very over merchandised.
Yes.
Right. And from what I found out, like the creator created it, he wanted it to be a very popular merchandisable character. He wanted to make some money off this thing. So now Bill Watterson is the creator of Calvin and Hobbes.
Yes.
He created the strip. He did it for 10 years, from 85 to 95, I believe.
Okay.
And then he just did a mic drop and left the scene. He does not do comic strips at all.
What a baller.
And he does not merchandise the characters whatsoever. He's very much against that. It's very much an art form for him.
But what about the little Calvin peeing decal?
That's what everyone thinks. That is a very unauthorized decal. That is not official Calvin and Hobbes merch.
Yeah, I don't remember that happening in the book.
And So if you're a Calvin and Hobbes fan and you have that on the back of your truck, peel it off, man. Bill Watterson would not approve. Do what you want. It's a free country.
He's rolling around in his his mansion. I don't know if he's dead. Is he alive?
I think so. I think he just last thing I read about him was that he just likes to paint. He's just a painter. He's just an artist.
He was an artist. He drew cartoons.
There's this documentary though. It's called like Looking for Mr. Watterson, and it's about these like people. I watched it years and years ago. It was like one of the first things I ever watched on Netflix when it switched to like digital, like online, like not just the DVDs.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I was like, oh, they have this thing. I like Calvin and Hobbes. What is this about? And it was like these like group of people that like it was their main goal to like meet Calvin, like the creator of Calvin and Hobbes, and try and meet him and tell him like, oh, how much your work helped me and changed my life, and I'm just a big fan. I feel like the ending was very anticlimactic, and they do not meet him.
Yeah. Spoiler.
And yeah, spoiler alert. And I actually watched recently a Documentary Now episode, which was a parody of that documentary, where it was about this guy trying to find the creator of The Far Side. And like Fred Armisen is like this guy who's got like a wife at home and she's pregnant, and he's just like, yeah, I just really have to go find Gary Adams of The Far Side. I just have to do this documentary. And she's like, I need you at home. I need your help with this. He's like, babe, I have to make this movie.
What a gem. Fred Armisen is such a gem.
So watch the Documentary Now episode, and you'll get the same gist of what the Calvin and Hobbes episode is. But anyway.
I was going to say, like, why are we talking about Calvin and Hobbes?
Yeah, back to Garfield.
This is Garfield. But we need to take as much time as we can about Calvin and Hobbes, because they didn't make a movie, and we can't really talk about it. Mm-hmm. This is our only comic book movie we're going to cover, probably, right? The Peanuts movie?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, the holiday specials. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Do you remember, like, Bible strips in the newspaper?
What?
I feel like I remember seeing, like,
Bible strips?
Like, scenes depicted of, like, scenes of the Bible. I remember seeing.
Maybe that's just a memory I just had. In the church newsletter?
It wasn't. I don't really know what else there would be.
I think you had the picture Bible, and you would sneak in your comic strips in your Bible so you could read them during church. Mm. That's what that was.
I did like that picture Bible that we had. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Classic.
I know that our Spanish teacher, Mr. Salmons, shout out.
Yep.
I remember we had to translate Calvin and Hobbes. Like, he had them in Spanish, and we had to translate them to English.
Oh, wow.
He was the best.
That's a little fun.
Yeah, we watched, like, Disney movies like Toy Story and in Spanish dubs that he would buy on eBay, and we'd watch the tape, and then we'd have to translate like the script into English. That was awesome. It was fun. Good times. Do you have a favorite comic strip? Or would it just be?
I mean, it's got to be Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah.
I don't think I've read any other ones.
I think, yeah.
I wanted to understand Dilbert, but I was 8.
Just imagine an 8-year-old kid. I just so desperately want to understand what's going on.
I wanted to be a fan of more than one thing so that my entertainment value from a piece of paper could increase.
Okay, there was a few that I liked. There's one that's like an older couple called Pickles, and I liked that one.
I remember Pickles was okay.
Good. The Beetle Bailey cartoon was
Foxtrot.
Foxtrot was good.
Was that Beetle Bailey?
No. Beetle Bailey, I don't even know how to describe it other than it was probably just the Gomer Pyle 60s TV show, but a similar vibe. You know what I mean? Like, no one else that's listening knows what I mean, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Him and like getting into trouble with his sergeant. I don't even remember. I used to like that one.
Yeah. Blondie,
that one was okay. I'd put that one at the same tier as Beetle Bailey. Like, I read it and I liked it and they were funny, but it wasn't like my top 5.
Okay.
But now I have to come up with a top 5.
Hagar the Horrible.
I liked those.
I guess Dennis the Menace started out as one. I remember Dad telling me that.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty like that were like way before our time, like throughout all the years.
Little Orphan Annie.
I would say like the 90s and early 2000s was kind of the end of that as far as like new comic strips, that was the question I would ask in my little video essay of, is it a dying art form? Is there room for new comic strips to be in the paper? Like, I feel like it's all like a sitcom, where you'd make a bunch of strips and then it goes into syndication.
Yeah.
I don't know that any new strips are going into like,
but there's not
USA
even
Today.
like sitcoms even
right
anymore. That much.
It's probably just all online. Like if you like a new comic, it's probably just gaining traction on Instagram or something.
I bet that would be a good TikTok page, if just like slideshow, slide by slide.
I see stuff like that. Yeah.
For you page, if you're listening on my phone right now, please add some Calvin and Hobbes content / comic strips. Thank you.
Okay, Zits was one I liked.
Ew, yeah.
It was like a teenager thing. Probably the same as the Archie comics, but I liked it. It was pretty funny. There was one called Get Fuzzy that I did not like the art style too. It just annoyed me. It was gross. Sorry if you're listening, Fuzzy.
I feel like a lot of the adult animation TV shows give off like newspaper comic strip vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Like The Simpsons definitely sounds like that. Family Guy, even like Rick and Morty.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like those give off the comic strip vibe. Did any of those start off with a comic strip?
I don't think any of them started off, but I've seen like Simpsons, be put into comic strip form and that sort of thing, comic books, but
because that's basically just a storyboard.
I feel like anybody that was like an animator, especially like 2D animation, was definitely, I'm sure they grew up, like that was a big influence for them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's like that comic strip art form. So then there was Garfield. I would say Garfield, I guess it's in my top 5, but maybe not. I had some Garfield books though.
I hate Mondays. Yeah,
and we decided to record this on a Monday. What were you thinking?
And today did stink. So I feel like I classified myself as a kid as somewhat sarcastic and dramatic, and a little bit funny. And I feel like I owe a lot of that to this particular movie and Bill Murray. It's very crucial to my career in comedy.
Your comedy career?
Well,
is that another announcement?
Nope, not at all.
Our podcast is our comedy career. Let's be real.
Yeah. St. Louis, we got shows this weekend. Be there. We are sold out on Friday, but Saturday night we got a couple tickets left. We'll be right there. So we were just in Kansas City, and it was a blast. Next week, make sure you're in Toronto, where we can, be playing at the Funny Bone
At the
Attic.
Funny Bone. The Funny Bone Attic.
I don't know. That sounds like a comedy club.
It does.
Anyways, get your tickets now.
Do you need to work out any material while you're here?
No, that's just my impression of every
podcast.
Every comedian's podcast.
Before the interview today,
Bozeman, Montana.
I'm gonna be...
I'll be coming to you. Cleveland. We got 2 shows opened up in Cleveland.
2 shows. A lot of demand in Cleveland. Had to add 2 shows.
I actually do think Cleveland is a big comedy. A lot of comedians do like Cleveland.
Huh?
And Ohio. All right. Where were we at?
I don't know.
Okay.
You were talking about the influence Garfield had on your comedic sensibilities.
Yeah.
Growing up.
I pretty much ended it there. There's only so much sarcasm you can have before it gets old.
Yeah. I do agree with what you were saying earlier. I do think the character is pretty like one-dimensional in the movie and in the comic strip. As far as like it does kind of get old. He's just like, so apathetic. Who cares? I'd rather just lay around. I remember
he really like influenced pop culture as being lazy.
Yeah,
Like, being lazy is cool.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it's not. Be productive. Be an Odie, okay?
Yeah, Gary Vee shows up. He's like, Garfield, while you were laying down taking a nap, I started an LLC, and now I own a $1 million business. You spent all that money on lasagna? I invested in myself.
Yappy's dog treats is cheap enough.
Oh, man. He did look super cozy, though. When he gets wrapped up in that blanket, though, and like in the comic strip, he was bundled up, a little bundle of joy.
A little butt sticking up. Yeah. Okay, but the CGI in this movie did look really good, surprisingly, for a lower budget. Is it a lower budget? I don't even know.
Well, it was $50 million, and it made like over 200.
Chump change.
So
I guess they save money I guess they save money just CGIing Garfield and not the other animals.
yeah, the other animals were all
Which is kind of a weird choice.
Mhm.
I'm okay with it, I think. But I don't know if they still animated the faces of the cats like the other cats.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
And I feel like if you're going that far, you might as well just do all CGI animals.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know how much it costs to CGI a cat face.
Probably a lot. That's probably half the budget was Garfield.
Yeah, and Bill Murray's paycheck.
Yes.
Have you heard the story? It's been said a million times, but like why Bill Murray signed on to do this movie?
Absolutely not.
You've never heard this story?
No, and I'm pretty sure neither have our listeners.
No, they've heard. I'm sure if Kyle Forsyth is listening, I'm sure he's heard this story. So he got pitched this idea, I guess. His agent like sent him the script or something like that, and he saw the writer of the movie, Joel Coen, and he thought it was one of the Coen brothers of the Coen brothers fame. And it was not written by one of the Coen brothers. So he like didn't even really read it. He like read a page or two of it and got the gist. He was like, "Oh, okay. I'd like to work with the Coen brothers." And so he just said, he told his manager like, "Sure, I'll do it." And then like he got in there to like start recording, and then like after it, just like line after line, he just realized this was not what I signed up for.
That's the most Bill Murray decision I've ever made.
Just like, yeah, I've done some work with Wes Anderson now, and the Coen brothers, they make good movies. I should work with one of them.
Oh, man. This is rough.
He has that line in Zombieland when he gets bit. Do you remember this scene? He's got the cameo.
I've only seen it once, but yeah.
He's got a funny line in there, and he gets bit, and he thinks he's about to die. And I'm like, "Do you have any regrets?" And he's like, "Maybe Garfield."
I wish he wouldn't, though, because this movie slaps.
Hey, he came back and did a second one.
That's right. Well,
So-
money was good, so because
sure
it made $200 million.
Yeah.
150 profit. So, and that movie's just as good, if not better. I'm gonna say it.
You'll die on that hill.
Yep.
I
The 2000s was a good time for movie sequels. The 2010s, not so much. 2020s, get out of here.
Do you know what?
Spider-Man 2, Shrek 2, Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones 2.
Not two Towers, I guess. I feel like that's the weakest one.
Ooh.
Is it?
Ooh.
I don't know. It's all the same
You
movie
don't
to
know.
me. I don't know.
It's all one movie. They shot it all together.
I'm shaking my hands in like avoidance. I don't know about this. Scooby-Doo 2.
Good movies, but
Okay.
I mean, have you tasted yourself lately?
I have not. So basically, Garfield is a sarcastic cat that is lazy, and he eats lasagna, and his owner loves him so much, he takes advantage of his owner.
Yeah.
And it's not really shown that much. Like in the cartoons, it's like John is the greatest owner. All he does is pay attention to him, I thought. And then until the girl shows up.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like he was just a normal pet owner.
Yeah. I think so. From what I remember, he was just kind of a nerdy guy.
Yeah.
It seemed like he was always like going on dates and stuff, but not like too good with the ladies. But he was getting dates. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I don't remember him being like this, like, I don't know, perfectionistic cat owner or anything like that he's kind of shown in this movie to be, sort of.
Yeah, but basically, this movie is about the perspective of a cat who is the only child, who is the favorite child, basically. And all of a sudden, there's a new person in the building. And it's a dog, even worse.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically like the big brother fighting for attention because of the new baby. Only this older brother is sarcastic.
Yeah.
And gets into a bunch of hijinks. So yeah. 10 out of 10 for the 17 shots of Odie sliding across the floor. It says that Odie is the deuteragonist of the Garfield franchise. I've never heard of that. Deuteragonist. That's an interesting word. I assume it means
use
like
it in
the
a
side.
Oh wait, you already did.
He's a yellow beagle dog owned by John Arbuckle and is supposedly Garfield's best friend.
Okay.
In his mind.
Oh, yeah.
Later on, I mean, Garfield's like, you're my only friend because you're the only one that keeps hanging out with me after I treat him badly.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty much. But I thought he was a dachshund. A dachshund. How do you say that word?
Now, do you remember from reading the Garfield comic strips, did Odie ever talk? I don't think he did.
No one did. It was a comic strip.
Oh, right. It was a silent movies back then. This was before the talkies.
No, I think it was
the Odie
still
character didn't
just
talk.
Garfield. Because all of it was Garfield's thoughts. It wasn't like him talking either.
But
right?
Yeah, that's what I'm not too sure on. Because I know there was other characters, but like even...
Because in this movie, John can't even understand him. So he's talking, but he just thinks he's meowing.
Yeah.
So that's just his thoughts, I think.
And I think that's consistent with the comic strip. I just mean like talking to one another, like to the other cats and stuff.
Ooh, I just typed in Garfield strip and I got scared. I'm glad it's just regular comic strips.
Don't Google this.
This is my work computer.
So actually, I remember there was a cartoon called Garfield and Friends that was like made in the 80s, early 90s. And I remember that it was one of those shows that was on TV really early in the morning. And like every now and then, it didn't happen very often, but every now and then, like on a weekday before school, if you got up and like turned on the TV to see what was on, it was always Garfield and Friends or Sailor Moon. One of those two shows.
Sailor Moon? What is that?
It was like an anime type show.
Oh.
I don't know. But I remember like if I ever got up before breakfast even and like turned on the TV, like I'm talking like 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Garfield and Friends would be on. I remember I'd watch that sometimes. And I feel like there was like a pig character in that like talked. I just don't really remember the show that much. It was pretty early in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I never watched that. I always slept in, I guess.
I guess so, yeah. We're always waiting on you.
To answer the question of if he's just thinking, pretty much, I feel like I recognize this. This is where I learned the difference between a speech bubble and a thought bubble. Mm-hmm. Because everything he's got has the little cloudy thought bubble. And everything John says has the straight.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's only his thoughts. He doesn't speak.
That makes sense.
We are in his brain.
I was just curious why Odie was the only one that doesn't talk, animal-wise, in the movie.
Right, that was weird.
But I think that's consistent with the comic strip, because I think he's just a dumb dog.
Can cats telepathically speak to each other?
But other dogs, like there was one voiced by Brad Garrett. He was like a Doberman, and he talked.
Maybe.
So I just didn't know why Odie didn't.
Maybe he was Amish or something.
Yeah, maybe.
I can say that because the Amish aren't going to listen to this. Checkmate.
I remember when this movie came out, and I heard Bill Murray was going to do the voice. So I was like, okay, that'll be funny. And I was like looking forward to it.
You knew who Bill Murray was in 2004?
I sure did.
This is my first experience with Bill Murray.
Well, I had at least seen Ghostbusters.
In 2004?
Yeah, we had that. That was one that we had like on tape.
Mm-mm. I don't believe
You
that
probably
for a
hadn't seen it.
second.
Well, what else has he been in?
City of Ember.
Okay.
Love that one. Oh, yeah, I watched him in SNL. He was great back in the day. What else has he been in? That's weird. How come I'm blanking on? Oh, Groundhog Day. What About Bob? Classic.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Space Jam.
Oh, yeah, that's probably the first movie we
I
saw.
didn't know Dan Aykroyd was in this picture.
Yeah, we forget about that. We've even covered that one a long time ago. He was in every single thing of every Wes Anderson movie.
I don't know what I would have.
But before...
I mean, besides Ghostbusters, I don't really know that in Space Jam, but I think I just knew that he was a funny person.
Maybe just because Dad recognized him from SNL. That's probably it.
Maybe, yeah. But I do remember that, and I remember when I watched the movie, I was kind of let down.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't think it was super funny.
It,
I felt like it was like just a lot of the quotes like weren't really doing it for me.
yeah. You talking about this time through or the first time you saw it?
Well, both.
Okay. I could possibly agree with that
Mm-hmm.
now, this time through, but I loved it, and I thought it was hilarious. But I think this time through, it was just... This one felt like a kid's movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It didn't seem super smart. It felt like there's a couple jokes here and there for Mom and Dad. But like other than that, it was just very shallow of a movie.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to be more.
Yeah. It's a very simple story. I just feel like a lot of the quotes are just like low-hanging fruit. It's like they just kind of went with the first thing.
It's a lot of
yeah,
puns and stuff.
But there are a few good like scenes. There's a few good moments, but I think my favorite character in the whole movie was Louis the Rat.
Oh yeah.
I do love the macadamia.
I liked one of his buddies that was like, "Who wants to go to the Red Lobster Alley?"
Yeah. The rats were good.
Hey, Garfield. Who voiced him? It sounds like Nick Cannon, but it
Who, the rat?
Yeah,
Uh,
he was actually a mouse.
what's the difference?
It doesn't say on the IMDb yet.
Yeah, Nick Cannon. Lewis, a quick.
Was it
wooden
really?
mouse, yeah.
You can reckon. Yeah.
Here's the animal cast here. Bill Murray as Garfield, Alan Cumming as Persnickety
Persnickety.
in the fur, Nick Cannon as Lewis, David Eigenberg as Nermal.
Nermal, what a name.
I don't know how. I don't really recognize this guy, but
Nermal was
he
a
had
character in the
unique
comic
voice.
books.
Yeah,
I
he
remember that.
was.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, Garfield. It's like a nasally, but like doing
I
something
thought
in the
it
back
was
of his
like-
throat. I don't know how to do that.
I thought it was like
What's he doing with a dog in the house?
Joe Petruglio.
No, it wasn't him.
No. You don't know what I mean.
Brad Garrett, Jimmy Kimmel was Spanky. I don't know who that is.
Probably a dog. Does
Deborah-
anybody know this guy?
Okay, Deborah Messing as Arlene, Garfield's love interest.
Bro, what? I don't remember that at all.
There was no love plot in this movie,
Well, there was.
was it? Well,
With humans.
Okay, Richard Kind, Dad Rat. He's good.
Oh yeah.
I think the one that said the Red Lobster Abbey, the Red Lobster Alley.
Red Lobster Abbey. See, I thought.
I think I'm getting like Redwall mixed up now.
Yeah. Well, they are mice around.
Is the mom from that '70s show?
Is it
Joe
really?
Rupp. Yeah, I think she's the one that had that line.
That's funny.
You want to talk about the human cast?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Breckin Meyer
Mm-hmm.
played John,
Yeah.
and I know he was in Rat Race.
Yep.
Moving on. I don't know any other movies he was in. He seems like his movie career kind of fell off after this, and just kind of did like TV shows. He's done some big TV shows.
All I know about him is like he is like good friends with Seth Green, and
Which is why he was in.
and I
Rat
think
Race.
he was in. They were in Rat Race together, but I think he's done a lot of like Robot Chicken stuff with him.
Yeah.
But what's funny about that is like the stuff that I've seen him in, like two things. He always plays the straight man.
Yeah.
Like he's not funny in Rat Race. He's not funny in Garfield.
Right.
He just plays like a boring white guy in the stuff that I've seen him in.
Hey, sometimes you need those types.
Hey, I agree. But I just think that's funny. Him being in like Robot Chicken, that's something that's like kind of hard to like. When I've
Yeah.
heard his voice in that, it's like, okay, that's weird.
Yeah, because he's in a bunch of kids' movies and a bunch of very inappropriate TV shows. He was in Herbie Fully Loaded. He played the owner's son or somebody's son. I've seen that movie once
Yeah,
because
never
it
saw
came
it.
out,
I didn't
and
see
that's
it.
all.
Ron Swanson liked that movie though.
Herbie Fully Loaded. Rebound. Yeah, he's voiced a couple things in like Kim Possible, a couple other shows, but like he's much of a TV guy more than a movie guy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's a part of two huge staples: Rat Race and Garfield, Tale of Two Kitties. Jennifer Love Hewlett Packard.
Is it Hewlett? Hewitt.
I don't know. I
Hewitt.
just got it mixed up with the HP.
Oh yeah. I think her character, Dr. Liz Wilson, is a character in the comic strip as well. I didn't really recognize that in watching the movie. I
remember the name Liz and how like these humans don't look anything like the comics.
Yeah.
They're more rounded people. And both of these people have very sharp faces. The comic strips are more boobah, and the humans are more kiki. But yeah, she's also in like nothing. But apparently she was like some 90s heartthrob.
Yeah.
Heartthrob? Is that for girls? I don't know.
No, I don't think that's the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I know she was in like, other than Garfield, I saw one like teen movie called Can't
I know
Hardly
what you
Wait.
did last summer, and I still know what you did last summer.
All right, well, don't say it on the podcast.
No, those are the movies. They came back to back movies. In a back-to-back year, actually. That's what she's most known for, weirdly.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, I've never seen them. I've heard of them though. Had like Freddie Prinze Jr. in it, and it had Sarah Michelle Gellar. I think that's how those two met before they did like Scooby-Doo and got married and stuff.
Bro, Sarah Michelle Gellar, I thought was the same person. Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sarah Michelle Gellar are the same person. That's crazy. Wow. Okay. Wow, you know you've made it when you've been on an episode of Criminal Minds. All right. Well, and then we've got Stephen Tobolowsky.
Okay, let's talk about this guy.
He's also in a Bill Murray movie.
Yeah, Groundhog Day.
Ned Ryerson.
Am I right or am I right or am I right? Am I right? He's one of those guys that's been in like...
Ned Ryerson.
Ned Ryerson. He's been in a lot of things, and you like always recognize him, but I always like...
Yeah.
I have a hard time remembering his name. Steven, if you're listening, I'm sorry. But he's been in a lot of staples, I feel like.
Oh, before we go back to him, let's go back to Breckenmeyer. Apparently he was on an episode of The Wonder Years. Do you remember that? He was on that one where they went camping.
Okay, yeah. I do remember that.
Yeah, but he was like in middle school. Good show.
Good show.
All right, back to Ned Ryerson.
I mean, talking about staples here, he was in the Country Bears.
Bro, he sure was. Oh, man.
Okay, one for me that was a big staple, Mr. Magoo.
Okay.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. I love Groundhog Day. The Sasquatch Gang.
He was in that.
No one's ever seen that one. Apparently he was in Wild Hogs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember him in that. Doesn't surprise me, though.
Yeah, he was in the Lorax.
He was in Christian Mingle.
Episode of Community. Christian Mingle? Wait, I think I've seen that before.
Have you watched that?
Yeah, it's some
It's
like
like a
really
Christian-
cringy Christian movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently he was in it.
It's so dumb. Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's enough casting stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the people in the movie. Oh, wait, I didn't know this. The Garfield creator Jim Davis appeared as an uncredited drunken convention attendee, but his role was cut from the final version of the film.
Because this is a kids movie.
What convention are they talking about? The dog show?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to the Sarah Michelle Gellar, same person vibe.
Yeah.
This movie also gives the same energy as the Scooby-Doo movies.
Okay.
Similar CGI, too.
Yeah, but better.
Yeah.
Better than Scooby.
Yeah,
At least that first one.
Sure. But I would definitely say this may be a hot take for some people, but Garfield is way better than Scoober Doobert.
I probably
CGI wise.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay. What about like cinematography wise? And like how does Garfield use color in a way that really like makes the story pop?
Actually, the set design a little bit, because John's house was so dang colorful.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that house a little bit. It's a little out there. It looked like it was definitely a bachelor pad who didn't know what he was doing. But
I mean, it was a nice house.
it was a nice house, and it was well curated color-wise.
Very well curated, and like he had a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Like there's a lot of memes of like, you know, you go over to a guy's apartment and he's just got like the one like camping chair set up with a TV on the ground, and it's just like,
You want to
like,
see?
this is happiness, you know? Like,
Yeah.
But like he had tons of stuff in there. Every room was like fully like furnished.
Millions of pictures of him,
Yeah.
framed pictures of him in Garfield.
And that's
That's where I knew everything I needed to know about this guy. No pictures of other
Okay.
humans, just him in Garfield.
do you know what John does for like work? The character?
I don't know, but he makes a lot of money for sure. There's no way he doesn't.
It doesn't say in the movie, but when I was reading about the character on Wikipedia, it was saying that he's supposed to be a cartoonist.
No
and
way.
And it's supposed to be a surrogate for like the creator
That's
of Garfield.
cool. That's cool.
But it doesn't ever like show that, at least in the first movie. I don't remember the second one. It's not really an important detail.
Yeah.
But like he always talked about working from home and that sort of thing. Like he always seemed like he had tons and tons of free time, like he wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
So I was curious what he did.
Interesting. Okay. Funniest scene in this entire movie.
Yeah, this is where the CGI comes into play.
So the funniest scene in this entire movie, to me, is where Garfield knocks over the entire, like, I don't know, the entire living room,
Mm-hmm.
but mostly the entertainment center bookshelf thing. And it's just like a series of the room getting destroyed by itself. And one of those, what's this? What's the word for those machines or systems where like the domino effect, sort of? There's a scientific name for it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Named after somebody who invented it. Anyways, well, he destroys the room and he pokes himself up out of the... I'm not going to describe this well at all, but it's just the funniest little face switch ever. But he pokes himself out of the bookshelf because it lands on top of him, and he turns around and he realizes that John knew it was him, and he just smiles at him.
The CGI.
The CGI
Cat smile.
Yeah. I'm just not realizing you have to watch that part because I described that horribly. It's mainly a visual gag.
There's a few moments like that. That's what they needed the CGI to do because they couldn't do that with a real cat.
Yeah.
But like Garfield is quite famously not very enthusiastic, not very expressive, right?
Right.
So-
right.
I feel like Garfield could have been the one character that you didn't need a CGI for, you know, like character.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because for the most part, he's just like real chill. But at the same time, it is a cartoon. So.
Yeah, especially in the cartoon, Odie's eyes are always bulging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not in this movie. Odie should have been CGI as well. But maybe that wouldn't have.
I think they all should have been CGI.
Yeah.
But maybe the budget wasn't there. Whatever. Doesn't matter because they're making a new one.
Yeah, that's what I was
Chris
gonna say.
Pratt as the lead. Isn't that wonderful?
Wonderful.
April or May 2024. This month or next month.
Yeah.
They're coming out with a new reboot of the Garfield movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the animation looks disgusting. It looks like a bunch of pencil erasers.
I haven't even watched a trailer for it, but I've just seen like posters for it. Like I haven't even heard his voice. Like I was curious with Mario. I was like, oh, how's Chris Pratt gonna sound as Mario? But with Garfield, I haven't even.
I don't even care anymore. Like I defended him on when everyone was like, Chris Pratt doing Mario, he can't do that. I was like, give him a chance. It'd be good. It ended up being a good movie. Everyone liked him.
I enjoyed Mario. Yeah.
But like, I think he's taking too many lead roles.
Yeah.
I think he needs to go back to some side roles. I don't know. I probably won't be watching that movie out of respect for Bill Murray.
To be fair, I don't think Bill Murray cares.
Yeah, he's not seeing it either. Not because he doesn't care, because
he missed out because it was written by one of the Coen brothers.
What if? That'd be so funny.
Garfield, directed by the Coens.
Ew.
Yeah. If it was if it was the Coen brothers, it would definitely be starring Steve Buscemi and John Goodman at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe Jeff Bridges. That would be the trio of characters. I'm not even going to sign their characters, but that's who it would be.
Nope. We're doing it. Jeff Bridges would definitely be Garfield.
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi would be Odie.
Yeah.
And John Goodman would be
John.
No, not at all. He'd be Liz.
Happy Chapman.
He would be Happy Chapman. That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
You know who else is in this new Garfield movie? Samuel L. Jackson. That's another.
There's actually a lot of people in it, actually, I think, right?
I would assume. It's a big $1 million production.
Classic. Yes, Samuel L. Jackson. Who's he playing?
I don't know. That's just another name I'm tired of seeing.
Vic. Yeah. Nicholas Hoult is playing John Arbuckle.
Interesting.
Brett Goldstein. Cecily Strong. Snoop Dogg playing Snoop Cat. Okay, that'll be funny.
Okay.
Bowen Yang. A lot of just the SNL people. This is just a tax write-off for Lorne Michaels. That's all it is. Oh, man. This is not going to be good. And if it is, you heard it here, folks. I'm wrong.
With the Garfield 2004, another area that doesn't really work for me personally is the music. I don't like the music choices.
Dude, I love it. It's a time capsule for the 2000s.
I just wasn't into those, like any of those songs, so I didn't really care. Either it's like, I mean,
Baja Boy, Baja Men,
the Baja
Black
Boys.
Eyed Peas, Black Eyed Peas.
I just felt like the needle drops did not work in this movie. It didn't it didn't really do anything for me.
Yeah.
Watching it back then or now, it wasn't nostalgic for me. I didn't really care. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I'm like, oh, that's fine. It like brings me back to the time. But for whatever reason, just the music choices didn't seem to work for me.
Because half the time
didn't
it's
seem to
like
line
playing
up-
on a speaker in real life. That's
Right.
probably why.
Yeah. It didn't seem to like match like Garfield's personality or anything. It just like, oh, he's flipping channels and he sees a Black Eyed Peas music video, you know?
Maybe.
And if it's a movie in the early 2000s or late 90s, it's got to have a Baja Men song in it. That's just how it goes.
And I mean, it's kind of funny because they had the Who Let the Dogs Out. But Garfield let the dog out. But they didn't even put that out.
I know.
That song.
Because they used that in Rat Race.
Did they?
Yeah.
They also used it in 101 Dalmatians, which we should have done.
But we still can.
Hello and welcome back to Insight Quotes, the show where my brother and I rewatch, review, relive the staples of our childhood. Today we're covering 101 Dalmatians.
The cartoon or the live action? I want to make sure I
Don't
watch
worry
the right
about
one.
it. We've already done Garfield at this point.
Already did that bit.
It's even about rap time, I would say, too.
Actually, one thing I did want to bring up before we wrap up. Speaking of John's disposable income, he has a whole train room.
Yes. Is that
Okay.
something is that a point you'd like to get to at one point in your life?
Not at his age. That's like a retirement hobby. That's what I'm eyeing.
Fair enough.
Like that's what I'm gonna get hardcore into. Like when I retire.
It's gonna be your retirement hobby.
And that I'm not gonna research it now. I'm gonna research it then because I'm gonna have time on my hands.
Sure. Okay.
But he's got all kinds of time. I guess he's got a whole train room. But maybe I'm a little bit jealous. But I did notice that actually does come into play plot wise at the end of the movie. Because apparently Garfield has seen like the controls of how to use like the remote control trains, and then he does the same thing with the real trains at the end of the movie.
You can switch the track if you hit the button.
Yeah. So I did think of that. Oh, okay. Well, there was at least a tiny setup and payoff for that in the movie.
Charlie, you're not going to be a model train guy. You're going to be a Lego guy because that's going to be a hobby for older people when we're old.
Well, I mean that's true. Yeah. Yeah. I guess so.
You're going to spend all your 401k on the Hogwarts Express.
That's what I'm saving up for. Did you have any quotes in this movie?
There's a lot. I don't want to list them all.
I had a few that I wrote down.
I got one to end it on, but
Ooh, I've got one too. I bet it's the same one. Maybe not.
maybe.
Before we get to the quotes, I guess we didn't really talk about the plot of the movie, but we don't have to get into it.
No, I explained it barely.
Happy Chapman sees Odie. He steals Odie, makes him do moves with the electric collar, and Garfield has to go save him, and he leaves the cul-de-sac in order to do so.
Meanwhile, he just completely ignores a CGI cat that has human facial features.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anytime I think of this movie, though, I basically remember Happy Chapman and like Odie doing the flips.
Yes.
With the electric collar on.
Most unimpressive.
Okay, some of the quotes I wrote down. I said earlier, have you tasted yourself lately?
What am I gonna do with you? Love me, feed me, never leave me. That sounds like a Trump quote. Love me, feed me, never leave me, not even once.
And these aren't really any that I've actually quoted, except for the standout quote to me from this movie always was, "I do love the macadamia."
I do love the macadamia nut cookies.
And let's go to the Red Lobster Alley.
Yeah. You little suck up. There's a lot of it. I back in the day would say it all the time. I owe you one, G.
The one that I wrote down was like after he meets Odie, he's just like, I think I may well have a mental advantage on this dog.
That was funny.
Here's a quote. I think I tried to write it in shorthand, and so I don't really remember it. I wrote like, "Look who's here to witness this. The mailman. ... You're so stupid." What does that mean?
I don't know.
There was some line about a mailman, I guess, that I thought was funny, and I can't remember what it is.
Once again, my life has been saved by the miracle of lasagna.
I feel like
Garfield, did you all 4 boxes of lasagna? It's not my fault. They started it.
It's liver flavored.
Ew. That was funny when he switched the bowls.
Mm-hmm. Keep it squeal.
If it isn't unhappy chappy. Keep it squeal. Yeah, I remember that. I would say that a lot. I hate Mondays.
I'm going to keep it creamy with you.
I'm going to keep it creamy with you. Keep it squeal. Oh, little Odie went in Lederhosen.
Was there, besides the lasagna, was there other food? I feel like there was another food thing I was going to bring up earlier, and I can't remember what it was.
Just the tuna.
The tuna.
Liver or whatever. Cat food in a bowl.
There was something. I know he's like flipping channels and he sees like a Wendy's commercial.
Oh, yeah. There is a Wendy's commercial. A yellow Wendy's commercial.
Yeah.
Where does this movie take place? I don't think it's New York necessarily.
No.
I'm getting California or Florida vibes 100% all the way based off the neighborhood he's in.
Say that again. Which states?
California or Florida?
I think it's definitely California.
Okay. But you'd think because of the cityscape and the rats. And the reason I thought it was New York was because he covers the Billy Joel song, New York State of Mind.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in a new dog state of mind.
So I think they do maybe... Yeah, that is true.
But it's not.
Do they fly to New York? They never fly in the movie.
No.
They're just going to fly like to like Amsterdam or something. We're going to ride the New Amsterdam Express to New York or
I guess
something.
that must be in New England.
But I thought that was the name of the train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's where the train would be. That wouldn't be over in California.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
Just Metropolis.
It definitely seemed like they were leaving the suburbs, but they like CGI'd a city in the background.
Right. And it just said city on the sign.
Yeah.
The big city.
Yeah. I did notice that on the interstate signs. It just had a direction and it just called it generically the city.
Yeah. I don't do the vertical thing. Just classic, just boomer humor on like sarcastic Facebook posts.
Well, I think that's pretty much all that I got here on Garfield, Jeremy. Do you have any final thoughts?
Well,
lessons learned? Takeaways?
There's my ball. I really don't have any takeaways.
Yeah.
Maybe just control yourself and only have like one slice of lasagna instead of 4. Also, don't hate on your little brothers whenever they come into your world. If you're like 3 to 5 and you have a little brother coming soon, treat him well.
I don't think that's what that's talking about at all.
Hey, I'm the younger brother here.
I think you pointed out earlier, like, I don't know, Garfield, he's like a curmudgeon and everything, but like, it's really him that needs everyone else, really, because without them, like, who's gonna feed him and stuff? But he has no friends, really, you know. So he does like come around, I think, to Odie in the end, but I don't know. There's not really a lesson learned there, I don't think.
All right, Jonathan. Last question before we end it.
All right.
I know you don't care about pets, but if you had to have one, would you rather have a cat or a dog?
I would go a cat. Yeah.
You heard it here, folks. Jonathan's a cat man.
See, a cat will just leave me alone.
Yeah. I think they're a lot easier to handle, too.
Every now and then they do weird stuff, and they just, like, jump on you. And I was like, what? I don't want this.
Yeah, they're a little unpredictable, but so are some dogs. So.
For the most part, they just keep themselves, so
yeah,
we can coexist peacefully. Well, before we wrap it up, Jeremy, what are you going to give this movie for a Letterboxd rating?
I personally have to give it a 3.5, and I know you're going to give it a 3.
How did you know?
Yeah, because it's average.
Yeah.
But I just have a connection to it, so it's average, but I like it. So that's a 3.5 for me.
It has some moments, and we grew up watching it, and I didn't hate it. So I feel like a 3 is like
solid.
I liked it okay. I'm not like itching to rewatch it, but I probably will at some point.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know. So 3 out of 5 is what I'll give this movie.
I'm very much looking forward to Tale of Two Kitties.
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch it for sure.
Oh boy, and that's the sign the tank is full. Well, everyone, another day, another staple. Our only question left is, what is your favorite inside quote from Garfield? Fill that out on our Spotify polls, or just let us know on Instagram at Inside Quotescast.
And if you haven't followed us, go ahead and do that, and let us know if there are any movies you want us to cover on the show.
All right, next week it's your turn, Jonathan, so I expect a good one. A good one.
I've got a good one, and no hint necessary. Here's a clip.
Hey! O'Connell! It looks to me like I've got all the horses!
Hey, Benny! Looks to me like you're on the wrong side of the river! Shit.
Our show art was done by Bryce Bridgeman, and you can find him on Instagram at GroovyBridge.
And our music was done by Alex Bird.
And we would love it if you gave us a 5-star review And if you do, we promise to read it on the show.
But more importantly, 5 stars, and we'll get you set up with your own train room.
Ooh, good idea.
And that's just so I can come over and hang out too.
Also, please become a member if you want to help support the show. Be a part of our Patreon. There's plenty of bonus clips, bonus episodes, other content up there for you. And thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you enjoyed listening to us talk about our childhood just as much as we have. And if you did, make sure you hit follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so that you don't miss out on our future episode.
Also, if you like the show, share it with a friend.
Until next week, we'll see you next time on Inside Quotes. So, Jonathan, do you think the show went well?
Of course it went well, you toad!
I hate Mondays.